Well, good morning, everybody. I'm going to start the webinar now. I'd like to thank those that have attended for joining us this morning. We're going to take about 15 minutes to take you through SMS conversations from VoiceSage. I know some of you probably have seen some of the correspondence around this, but the purpose of this session really is to give you a good insight to where we think the value of SMS conversation sits. Just before I kick off, a little bit of housekeeping. If anybody would like to ask any questions, there is hopefully on your machine an applet that allows you to ask questions. I do have some questions already, and I shall address those at the end of the session. But if there are any particular questions you'd like to ask, then I can do that. If people want to have a conversation and join the conversation, I can also enable that as well. But we can pick that up at the end. But hopefully this session will give you a good insight to SMS conversations, and it's important you take away from this a good understanding of what we can do. So first and foremost, I'm Steve Gummer. I'm one of the business development managers here at VoiceSage, and it's my pleasure to take you through SMS conversation today. Okay, if I move on to the first slide, just wanted to give you a summary really of us today. You're all customers of ours, which we're obviously thankful for, but I think it's useful just to talk a little bit about how we're developing as a business. We are targeted to deliver 300 million messages in the next 12 months. So that's a significant amount of communications for probably somewhere in the region of 90 different organizations today. And we believe that 67% of the UK numbers have been contacted by VoiceSage in the last 24 months. So we're reaching out and communicating with a significant group of people within this country. And also that's helping us build knowledge and understanding of when is the best time to communicate with those people as individual phone points. And we use that as part of our ongoing communication strategy. And it's used by businesses today serving over 75% of the UK population. And in the last couple of years, last 24 months particularly, we've grown circa 30% year on year. And that growth continues to be the same quarter on quarter as we progress. So as an organization in the last 2 or 3 years, we've seen significant expansion. And I think that comes about for a number of reasons, but we are bringing new capability to bear for our customers. And SMS conversations is just one example of that. So, customer communications, what it looks like today. Well, I know that most of the people that are on this call will be doing most of the things that you see here. This is very, very typical of what we see with our customers today, communicating across a number of different channels with their customers. So dialers, contact center agents, voice messaging, of course, through ourselves, SMS, hopefully through ourselves, email, letters, and social media. They're all aspects of how customers today are communicating with their customers. One of the challenges of that, though, one of the advantages that we believe VoiceSage brings to the table, and hopefully many of you will be aware of this, is those channels today are typically siloed. And our approach with VoiceSage has always been to bring those under one umbrella. So as an organization, we like to bring those components together. So if I'm communicating through those multiple channels with my customers, VoiceSage enables me to have visibility of those communications, whether they be voice messages, SMS, email, and web. We're effectively joining those customer contacts together. So as an organization, you can have a single viewpoint of how you're engaging with your customers, and more importantly, how they're engaging with you, because all of our communications are two-way. We are very, very different to just sending a message is a small component of what we do. The real value play of VoiceSage is joining those components together to drive business outcomes. And that's what we're going to talk about with SMS conversations. So many companies, when we initially engage with them from an SMS perspective, most companies, it's fair to say, are probably sending SMSs today. We'd like to think a number of those people that are on the phone today are actually using VoiceSage to do that. Some of the people that are on the phone today aren't. But in simple terms, one of the initial challenges with SMS is traceability. It's very easy to go to the marketplace and buy an SMS package where you can spend a few pennies and send hundreds of thousands of SMSs. But traceability and tracking of that, management of that influx in response to those SMSs is very difficult. A lot of organizations, in fact, don't actually allow you to respond to those SMSs. They are purely, as we call them, fire and forget. So you're creating a lot of customer contact, but as soon as that contact leaves your organization, you're losing visibility and track of it. And the whole concept of SMS conversations is to bring that control into your organization, to give you the capability to engage with your customers in a two-way conversation that drives a business outcome. So let's look at that and talk about that a little bit more. SMS conversations, what we're here to talk about today. So how does it work? Well, I put together a little graphic that kind of explains how we work with your data and how we communicate with your customers. And we'll dig into this as part of this session today. And it's not too dissimilar to how you're communicating using VoiceSage today. We're taking data from your business, and that data will typically be customer contact information, demographic information, information that is appropriate for the particular campaign that you want to launch. So we would bring data into the VoiceSage cloud. We would build a campaign around conversations. We would then launch those SMSs out to your customers. But the important aspect is we can then bring them directly into your advisors and your agents within your contact center or customer services team. So we're providing you with a facility to communicate across a broad range of customers, but to drive interactive and real-time conversations with those customers as the customers respond. So we have seen in the 2 or 3 customers that are starting to early adopt this technology that a model of 1 to 30 conversations is sensible. So one agent dealing with 30 live, ongoing conversations. And the nature and concept of SMS is it brings some significant values to play. It's in a collections environment, it gives you anonymity, and customers like that, but it gives you that real-time feel. And depending on the demographic that you're communicating with, we see some very, very strong acceptance of this technology in our early pilots with the technology rolled out across some customers that we've seen today. So what are the types of conversations that our customers are using conversations for at the moment? Well, we see this broadening as we go, but today we have, as most of the people on the call will know, we have a very, very strong play into the collections journey. So we have customers today that are starting to see some significant benefits by deploying conversations into a collections environment, and I'm going to focus on that specifically shortly. We also are starting to see some logistics play as well, so renegotiation of deliveries, people arriving on site, making sure that you're not breaking the customer communication chain. And if something is going to arrive at a customer's location, or an individual is going to arrive at a customer's location, the customer is prepped and ready to receive them. And also from a customer service and support, we see this as a growing area. So post-delivery services, ongoing service requests, these are the sorts of things where we're seeing customers demonstrating some significant interest in conversations to support those aspects of their business. So let's look at conversations around a specific customer example. And I think this will resonate with all of the people that we have on the call today. If we take collections as a journey, and VoiceSage today probably has 45 customers within their 90 portfolio using VoiceSage in one form or another for the collections journey. And it's fair to say that most of those customers will have a similar structure. They'll probably have some dialect capability within the organization today. They'll have some voice messaging from ourselves. And this is typically the metrics that we're seeing. So when we compare ourselves to a dialer, we are pretty much like for like in terms of the types of communications we make, but we have significant advantages around the amount of resource that we need to make those communications. So taking a real example here of one of our customers, they have 30 agents today sitting on a dialer platform, and they typically see 200 promises a day and a kept rate of about 64%. From a voice messaging perspective, they typically only need to man that with 10 agents, and they're seeing very close 195% promises and around 70% kept rate. So the promises are slightly smaller, but the kept rate is slightly higher. So it's fair to say we are comparing very favorably, and this is spread across most of our customers with a dialer, but we have some significant advantages around resources. Now, where it becomes particularly compelling is when we bring conversations into the picture. So taking the same customer and taking a real-world example here, we have a customer today that is with purely 2 agents getting a similar level of promises to the IBM solution and an even higher kept rate. So the impact that we've enabled within this organization is significant. So we have seen an immense change in the way that companies are approaching their customers around the debt collection journey. And SMS conversations really play strongly here because we think of the anonymous nature of it, the reason that we can get to people at various times of the day, and there is definitely an appetite to communicate with you as organizations through this medium. And that's a significant play for us, and we see this being applicable across not just collections, but the customer services journey, the logistics journey, and a number of other journeys within our customer demographic today. So how does it look? So as a customer, if I'm receiving a conversation, it's very similar to any normal SMS conversation you'd have with a friend or a colleague. There is a live process. You've got an individual, of course, within your organization that is having these live conversations. We'll talk about how we control the sort of management and the quality aspects of this, but from a customer perspective, the experience is the same experience they'd get if they were in a conversation with any other organization, or any other individual, I should say. So the satisfaction rate is very, very high. So as an experience, it's familiar, it's something most of your customers will be comfortable with, and I think there is now an acceptance that this is a good medium by which you can communicate with your customers. Logistics has a similar point, so you can see the type of language and the templates that we may use in logistics, the types of conversations that are taking place, an example of the sort of communications that we are seeing at the moment our customers requesting. But let's have a look at it from a two perspective view. So as a customer, you can see there I get a very familiar SMS conversation taking place. But internally, within your organization, each agent will have a dashboard, and they can have multiple conversations going on at any one time. So as an advisor or an agent within your business, I can see the communications, I can see the sent and received. I've got a complete audit trail of the engagement. And as a business also, you have an audit trail as well. With legislation changing around treating customers fairly, with obviously the Ofcom rules and legislation constantly moving forward, being able to audit those communications and being able to control the language that's used in them is a very important aspect of what we're able to deliver with SMS conversations. So as an organization, you'll have complete visibility of all of those interactions with your advisors and agents. And I'll come on to some of the concerns that we have seen from customers that have been raised and how we address those to give you some comfort around this technology and embedding it into your business very shortly. So we can see within this example here, I've got some right party identification and confirmation and verification at the front end. I've got the complete audit trail, which I've spoken about. Important aspect to remember on this, of course, is that you control all of this. So the language, the IDMV, the right party of identification, this will be your standards. This will be built around the way that you work as an organization. And it differs in every business that we work with. But the important aspect for the people on the call today is we can build this to match your compliance rules and what is determined as the appropriate form of right party identification for your organization. So let's move on a little bit from the agent view. So some examples of the templates we can do. This is an incredibly strong and powerful play for us. We give you the capability to control the communications or to give more skilled agents the freedom to communicate with their customers as appropriate. But again, from a compliance perspective, we can fix the responses that come out of your organization, and we can give you strong control of how you communicate back to the customer. So from a standards perspective, from a compliance perspective, from a legislation perspective, you're covered. VoiceSage SMS Conversations gives you the capability to template and to control those communications effectively. So again, we've got some examples there of the types of templates. For the people on the call, we're happy to share the slide content after this. So if you're taking copious notes, by all means carry on. But if you'd like a copy of this afterwards, just communicate with Anne-Marie and I'm sure we'll get that sent across to you. But again, you can see some examples across collections, across logistics, and across the customer services journey of how we're able to communicate with people and how we're able to control that. Be interesting just to point you in the direction of our website. We actually have an example customer talking about their deployment and experience with SMS conversations. I've left the URL on the slide there. I'd urge you to go off and have a look at that. It's quite interesting to get some feedback from a customer who's deployed SMS conversations. They were our first deployment of the technology. We've had 2 or 3 others come on board since then, all of them experiencing very, very similar things. So worth going off and having a look at that website. So how do we approach a rollout of SMS conversations? It's not too dissimilar to your experience of rolling out interactive voice messaging and our standard SMS capability, really. We build a project concept agreement, so we define with you as an organization what the important aspects are, what those journeys look like as part of a requirements gathering process, which we document, of course. We define some delivery windows and delivery timescales for you. We build the SMS conversation and functionality set up around the types of templates that you want to use, the appropriate right party verification processes. We build some operational user acceptance testing, and we launch business as usual. Now, the time frame to do that is typically anywhere between 5 to 20 days. So again, it's a typical VoiceSage deployment. It isn't a complex technology to deploy. You already have it within your application. We just need to make it available to you because we're a cloud vendor, as you're all aware. So the capability is there today. It's just a case of switching it on and building it and making it available to you as an organization. And we build a commercial model around that as well. So very, very simple process to approach. So let's just look at some of the questions. And these really are questions that have been raised today by people that are on the call, but also questions that we have seen from other customers that play at the back of their mind. And I want to cover just 3 or 4 of these off before we close. How can you ensure that compliance requirements are covered? Well, VoiceSage is Ofcom compliant, we are PCI compliant, and every customer has different compliance legislation that they need to adopt. As a technology provider, we are aware of this, and we build our technology to support any foreseen compliance requirements. So around right party verification, we will build a model that fits within your business requirements. So we will work with you as an individual organization, we'll work with your compliance team, we'll agree with them in terms of how we communicate with customers, what the verification process needs to be, and that will form part of any deployment. So it's a very simple aspect to cover. Areas we typically see are the type of language that we use, the types of templates that we use, how much freedom we give the individual agents to communicate with the customers. All of those are questions that we would bring out as part of an ongoing discussion, but they are things that you can control as a business, and we will take your direction and also help you in terms of defining that from our experiences elsewhere. What technology does the agent need? Well, the technology is already available to you. You already have access to the web portal. We would make a specific SMS conversations facility available to the agents that you chose to have access to it. So all of those views that you saw of the customer conversations taking place in a not too dissimilar way to some of the web chat technology that some of our customers use, it work in a very similar manner to that. So the agents that you make this technology available to will be able to see a specific conversation screen, and they would then be able to access those conversations on an ongoing basis. And of course, they can then be transitioned across for shift cover into colleagues as and when they move out of the business to go home. They can be transferred across to other agents. So you keep the consistency of communication with the customer. And that's how we control users as well. We have a user hierarchy within VoiceSage. That's exactly the same within Conversations. There are authority levels, and we can determine who is able to do what, whether they are allowed to free type, whether they're purely allowed to use templates. All of that is controlled as part of a deployment. Can one news agent use it at the same time? Yes, we've got multiple agents using Conversations. We can channel SMS conversations through the VoiceSage intelligence engine and determine who responds to them. That is a component of how VoiceSage works. And speed of response really is down to you as an organization, how quickly you want to reach out to your customers, how quickly you want to continue that conversation. The agent is able to respond in real time. So it could be dependent on workload within a few seconds, it could be within a few minutes, but the beauty of SMS conversations is customers have an acceptance that it may not be instantaneous. It may be 3 or 4 minutes, it may be 10 minutes down the line. The important thing is they're in a conversation, and therefore they want to conclude that conversation. That is what we are seeing in the customer deployments that we've done. We talked about audit trails, but I'll just cover that off again because it is always a question we get asked. There is full audit traceability within VoiceSage, as there is full reporting in MI as well. So visibility of all of the communications that have taken place, the language that's used, which agents made the communication at what time, that is stamped and stored within the VoiceSage capability. And from an MI perspective, you can report on that and report that across the organization. So that is pretty much a very high level in 15 minutes, 15, 16 minutes, my apologies, we run over by a couple of minutes. That is very much what VoiceSage Conversations is able to deliver for you as an organization. Hopefully that's given you a good understanding of what we're able to deliver as a business. We think it has significant growth for us as an organization, but in the customers that we've deployed it, there's been a real appetite to roll it out fairly quickly once they've initially piloted and trialed it. We'd love to have some further discussions with everybody that's on the call today, and again, we'd like to thank you for joining. There is an opportunity, if anybody has any questions, feel free to raise them now. Alternatively, the next steps would be to contact your account manager directly. Those account managers will probably give you a call in the next few days following on from this presentation, just to get your initial thoughts, but also to answer any questions. But the floor is now open to anybody that would like to ask any questions. I will give it 60 seconds for anybody just to type in any questions they may have, and I will address those. But if not, I'd like to thank everybody that's attended today for joining us. And we hope to talk to you about this in due course, and we'd love to have you on board as a customer for Conversations. We think it's a very clever technology and of real value to all of our customers. Okay. I think that's good. So again, thank you everybody today for spending 15-20 minutes with us listening about SMS conversations. We will be in touch, but feel free to contact your account manager directly for any further questions. And again, thank you very much for joining us today.